Okay, good old week 19. We're down to four teams after an exciting wild card weekend. We got LA, Green Bay, Baltimore, Buffalo, Cleveland, KC, and then NOLA and TB. Good old rematch there of the legends. Um, Hopefully, we don't see another start like we saw Big Ben have on Sunday there. That was pretty entertaining. Or maybe do. That might make everyone's weekend a little bit more exciting. But Ella, you want to just jump right into this, Taryn, and give us what you got for some quarterback action?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll start by just going over some of these games. Like you got LA Rams, Green Bay with a 46 total, 7 point favorites, Green Bay. The only close-ish game looks like to be Baltimore or Buffalo, 2 point favorites in Buffalo's favor, 50 and a half total. And then you got what seems to be the most biggest blowout, biggest total in Kansas City, 10 point favorites with a 56 total. And then you got the Battle of the Old Men at a 51 and a half total, which should be a good nightcap on Sunday for all of us. But I think I love that game, that third game, and it's on Sunday morning, the Browns game. I'm leaning Mahomes. I think, you watched Ben throw 4 picks, but still put up 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. And I think this is a similar game flow. I think Cleveland's going to keep up. I actually think this will be the shootout. It'll go, I'm thinking I want to go over on the 56 total, and that's a huge game for both teams. Um, I think Mahomes is just a lock. 27 and a half DraftKings points on average per game, 300 yards per game, 38 TDs this season. I think you're going to see points out of him if this goes, especially up to 30, 35 points for Kansas City. So that's where I'm going. I don't think that's sneaky in any regard, but it's the game I like the best on this 4 game slate. But where are you going, quarterback?
I'm going back to Bills Mafia, Josh Allen. Quite the game against the Colts. They almost blew it.
They did.
Quite the. Is it a fumble? Was it a fumble? Who knows? But yeah, he had 324 yards, two TDs, a rushing TD, 54 rushing yards. I think you think the other one's going to be a shootout. I don't. I mean, I agree with you in a sense, but I still think this one's going to be a shootout too, especially when you got two QBs like this. So it should be a fun weekend. I think the other two games are going to be more of like the Seahawks and Rams game, and much slower and a little bit more slower pace. But yeah, I'm going to Josh Allen and Buffalo. I think they keep the train rolling, and I think they beat Baltimore. Um, Baltimore just didn't. I mean, they looked decent against the Titans, but it wasn't impressive in my opinion. Other than
Yeah.
Lamar's rushing TD, that was pretty nice, 54 yarder there. Um, but I'll move on to my running back selection here. I'm going back to your game, Taryn, but I'm going the opposite way I went this past weekend, and I'm going with Kareem Hunt. Um, I had Chubb, and it worked out for me just because he had that nice rushing TD at the end. Um, but I mean, they're always using Hunt in the red zone there, and he seems to just punch it in, for at least one a game, but lately too. And if 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 Baker Mayfield can get them into the red zone and then get them going in with a little bit of momentum, I'm hoping that Kareem just punches a few in. Where are you thinking though for running back?
Kind of funny. We're on the same page, man. I'm stacking up this game, and where I'm going is to Nick Chubb. But my note here is to possibly use both running backs in the same lineup. We saw last week Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb both putting up 20 points, totaling 3 touchdowns between the two of them. This team leans on their run game when they can. And Kansas City's not a great run defense. Cleveland's O line held up awesome against the Steelers' D. Like the Steelers' D didn't get any pressure. Like they didn't even record a sack in that entire game. I don't think. Maybe at the end, but in the early parts they had -4 DraftKings points. So like they were not getting anywhere near the quarterback or near those running backs. And both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are involved plenty. Both are involved in the passing game plenty, which is shocking. Which is where I like Chubb actually. The touchdown you're thinking of he caught actually it was a passing touchdown for 44 yards. So like they're getting both these guys involved in pretty much every facet of the game. So I think if you're going to go to Cleveland side, it's either Landry or it's these two running backs, and I actually like possibly stacking them in the same lineup, which is kind of crazy to think, but these two tend to put up that amount of points. So I'll roll over to where I'm going to find value because based on my early picks here, I needed to find value somewhere. I went to a wide receiver in New Orleans that saw a real uptick last week, and that's Deontay Harris. Traquan Smith's on the IR. There's no kind of third receiver there. Michael Thomas came back, had a good game. I'd call it like an average game for Michael Thomas at his price tag, but great to see him back. But Deontay Harris gets 7 targets for 83 yards, and that at 3,500 on DK is just huge. That's 15 points at 3,500. Saves you all the money you need on these big slates. And I'm going to a very expensive tight end later, so that's where I had to find value on this entire slate, and it was the only guy under 4K I liked substantially. So I don't know where you're leaning. Where's the high throwing volume here?
Well, I mean, I would pair it up with my QB and go over to Stephon Diggs. Almost have to splurge on that one and make it work if I'm going all in on it. I mean, there's also the option to throw in either Beasley or what's the other guy's name again?
John Brown, who put up a goose egg last week.
I know. So you never know. You might be able to toss him in there at a cheaper price this week and hope it pays off too, though. But yeah, I mean, you kind of have to lean on Diggs. Him and Allen just keep connecting week after week, and it's looking like they're not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah,
but moving on to the tight end here, I have 2 options. I'm still big. He didn't really pan out last week, but I had him was Cook in New Orleans there. This week, I still might go back to him just because, if he does get that TD still, he goes up to about 16, 17 points. I think he had like 8 or 9 last week by the end of it. Not a great Sunday. But the other one I have too is Travis Kelce. I mean, I'm sure that's probably where you're going to splurge on too, so I won't dive into it too much, but I'll let you dive into that one.
I don't know how you don't play the guy. If you're going to play Mahomes, you play, either him or Hill, or you play both him and Hill. I think you have to play him though with Mahomes. He averages 22 DraftKings points at the tight end position. He's seen 10 or more targets in, I think, 9 of his 16 games this season. I mean, any tight end getting 10 to, he had a game with, I think, 16 targets at one point. Like, the guy is basically your wide receiver 1. He should be in the category with Devontae Adams as like top 2 plays on the slate. I mean, those 2 guys are just phenomenal. And I think Browns are horrible in the middle. So that's their worst position at defending. If they're bad at the tight end, they don't have good tight end defense up the middle. So I think this is where you lock in your tight end stack with Mahomes. Running over to defense, I'm going to bank on a D that just doesn't disappoint. And I'm calling on the Rams to just do it again. I was going to say, I'm going to throw in a fade of the week, but I like fading Aaron Rodgers this week. This Rams defense is something. Like, you watch them play, and they are good at all areas of the secondary. Their safeties are great. They're 2 wide. They're 2 corners. You have Jalen Ramsey, but that Juwan Johnson on the other side is playing at an awesome level. Their slot corner is really good. I forget his name off the top of my head, but I think you just bank on talent here. I do think Rodgers has in the running for MVP, so this is a risky play, but just try to be different. They're only 2,600, second cheapest D on the board. But which defense do you like, and do you have a fade, like a guy you don't like on the slate, kind of like the Derrick Henry of last week?
I had LA as well. I mean, they totally shut down the Seahawks. It's just hard to avoid that. They're the most expensive, so it totally depends on your lineup and on who you're going to be, how it'll fit in there. I think you almost just have, if you're, I mean, they'll be the most owned. So if you want to be different, I guess you go with someone else. My fade of the week, who, I don't know, I'm saying, Devontae Adams.
Same game.
Yeah. So that's all I got. Do you have anything else to add into this last wild card, or I guess not wild card, semifinals now, or not even that, quarterfinals?
Let's see some upsets this week. Last week we didn't get to see one till Sunday. I don't believe that was actually a true upset that was kind of marked to go the wrong way, but let's see some upsets this week. Last week we didn't get to see one till Sunday. I don't believe that was actually a true upset that was kind of marked to go the wrong way, but let's I love watching playoff football. You can see it go either way. So let's see one of these games really upset. I'm thinking that might be the Rams based on how we talked. And me being a Vikings fan, that'd be just wonderful.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Yeah, we got 2 more weeks of this left, so stay tuned. And if you want to see other stuff, well, subscribe and watch our hockey ones.